Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Brock Beard from lastcar.info, and welcome to Behind the Wall, the post-race show that comes on after the show, where unofficially, pending the results of post-race inspection, Tyler Reddick has become the first driver in NASCAR history to score 3 consecutive victories to start a season, and has the potential to become the first driver since 2007 to score 4 wins in a row at any point of the season. Tremendous accomplishment at the end of what I would have to say has been quite the week for America, honestly, to cap it off here with a driver like Shane Van Gisbergen being so dominant at the road courses and looking like he was going to be on his way to a potential 6th victory in a row and looking as good as he did, and then have Reddick come right through there and hold him off for the last 20 laps and pull off the victory. Quite the moment for sure. As it happens, I got my Reddick Homestead shirt on here today, and that was our fantasy picks here at LastCar headquarters here between Van Gisbergen and Reddick here. So it was a fun deal there at the end. Again, not the most competitive race one would ever see. Again, very low on the attrition, but very high on the demands of the drivers. We saw the heat exhaustion that was suffered by A.J. Allmendinger after the end of this race. Alex Bowman as well having to step out of his car, and then this on top of J.J. Yaley in yesterday's race, and then even on the other side of the country here in St. Petersburg with the heat issues out there with the open wheel drivers competing in that. We'll talk about all of that tonight and sum that up here at the same time. So again, I will admit some bias in pulling Reddick here for the fantasy pick, although not really a stretch here coming into this one, especially given his last 2 victories and his history at this particular track. Reddick having won here in 2023, that being, of course, on the different configuration, the longer configuration, so kind of add that on there too, being able to win on the long and the short configuration there too. Again, a lot of road course races, even here at Sears Point or at Watkins Glen on the East Coast, or the newer tracks on there, you can have a race like that every once in a while where it has very, very low attrition, few incidents, a lot of strategy kind of factoring into it there. I think especially just for any kind of a difference from the first couple of weeks of this season here with the super speedway races in Daytona and Atlanta, it's nice to have something that's a little bit different and shows a different element of, skill set for these drivers here too. So again, I'm seeing complaints already about, this track being on the schedule. Is it really that interesting? Is it single file racing? Again, I think it's still a challenging track for sure, and it's nice to have a world-class venture that, runs the Formula One on this track, and kind of a different kind of experience out there. I know, having passed through Texas during our trip last year to Talladega and to Rockingham, we passed through there, and they were already hyping up both this race as much as the one at the Texas Motor Speedway there. Again, it seems like they had a decent crowd on hand, and good weather there, and that definitely helped with it too. I'd say it has its place on the schedule there for sure. We do have a lot of road courses on there. I think expanding it beyond what we have now probably isn't in the cards, but I'm not entirely willing to give up these different and unique venues out there. I think it's at least a step closer to having, a greater variety of tracks out there. And honestly, that variety really, again, leads into Reddick's accomplishment here. Again, pulling off these 3 wins at 3 very challenging tracks, talking about, not just being a Daytona 500 champion, but then going right into this. I mean, you think about like 1992, where Bill Elliott was involved in a wreck while leading the Daytona 500, ended up being a massive wreck on the back straightaway, and was collected in that, and then ended up winning the next 4 races in a row after that. So winning 4 of the first 5 races of the season, probably the most dominant we've seen any driver have at the start of this year. And yet at the same time, that kind of dominance does not necessarily mean that person's going to automatically win the championship. Of course, Elliott famously lost the championship to Alan Kulwicki that year by the difference of 1 position and 1 lap in the final race of the season. Are we potentially going to see something like that at the end of this year? We'll have to wait and see. But that's the wonderful thing. And that was probably the biggest thing I took out of this broadcast in general, was I had hoped in these first two races that we would feel that difference in the narrative that, again, you don't have the win and you're in, you don't have the playoffs, you don't have the elimination rounds, you don't have people already looking that far down the road. But it gets back to being about points and about salvaging points and about getting the best run that you can. We heard in this race drivers that have already kind of had a difficult start to the year. Just again, 2-3 races into the year. Alex Bowman certainly qualifies. And again, hopefully he's doing all right after he was relieved by Myatt Snyder here in the closing stages of this race. But it is still too early to talk about the championship, but we are hearing some trends about who's doing really well and who isn't. It's pretty easy to measure that right now, given Reddick's dominance in these first 3 races and seeing other drivers like Kyle Larson, like Christopher Bell, and like Alex Bowman that have kind of struggled a bit more. Bell really kind of coming back in this race here with his 5th place finish and, turning things around for him. But that's the kind of narratives I think that really make each race more memorable and really kind of build on the experience through the year. And I hope we get a lot more of that. We're starting to see bits of it. And this is definitely a very good start to that there, too. So, again, Tyler Reddick, your winner here today. Shane Van Gisbergen in the 2nd spot. Unofficial margin victory, 383 thousandths of a second. At least that's what it's showing on here. I could have sworn it seemed like it was more closer to a second or more there at the end, unless I know Reddick was kind of doing the Formula One thing and kind of weaving towards the crew on pit road there to celebrate coming down the line. But regardless, a good victory there for him. Ryan Blaney in the 3rd spot. Blaney looked outstanding out there today. I did not expect him to be a factor in this one at all. And really in the first stages of this, it seemed like, oh, maybe he's going to actually pull this one off. Unfortunately, either the right strategy didn't work out or the tires burned off too much. And he ended up back in further back there at the same time. I want to make sure this is accurate too. Is that actually, yeah, it was still 3rd there. Let me refresh this here just to make sure. Let's see. Oh no, yeah, because Blaney dropped back further. Okay, yeah, Blaney was 8th. There we go. Let me correct that there. Okay, I thought that margin of victory was a little bit close. Okay, there you go. 3.9 seconds. That's more like it. Okay, so we'll start over here. It's important to hit the refresh button here before starting the show here. So Reddick over Van Gisbergen, Christopher Bell in the 3rd spot there, getting up to that spot with Ty Gibbs in 4th and Michael McDowell in 5th. Blaney back to 8th after, again, a strong start to the race there that went to the wayside there at the end. McDowell with some great strategy there, being able to kind of work his way up there. I agree with the people talking about this online. That's like, why on earth were people so negative about McDowell staying out as long as he could? Yeah, he wasn't a factor for the win, but this is very similar to what McDowell and his crew chief put together at Sears Point last year, where they had the lead and pretty much had to dare the other drivers to go up there and pass him for the lead. Unfortunately, a caution came out for the loose wheel off of Ross Chastain, so he ended up losing the lead earlier than that. But if that hadn't happened, it would have been an interesting situation to see if Reddick and Van Gisbergen could get back up there and actually beat him for the top spot there. So, again, 3.944 seconds for the margin of victory between Reddick and Van Gisbergen. Christopher Bell in 3rd, Ty Gibbs in 4th, McDowell in 5th. Rest of your top 10, Kyle Larson in 6th, which was very surprising given the what we saw before the race here. Reports from Jeff Gluck there about a possible engine issue on that car and the team unwilling to plug in the computer to diagnose it because they'd have to drop to the back of the field. Ended up with a good starting spot in the race in the 15th spot and coming home with a 6th place finish there with the car holding together. So great effort for them. Chase Elliott on fresh tires at the end turns that into a 7th place finish. AJ Allmendinger in the 9th spot there again, fighting heat exhaustion in this one to get a top 10, and Denny Hamlin rounding out that group. Bubba Wallace, the second of the 2311 cars there, just outside the top 10 and 11th. We saw Riley Herbst in the top 10 briefly before he dropped back, well back in the order here, looking where he was 23rd at the checkered flag for the trio there. But we did see him there for a little bit when things got scrambled up there towards the end. So again, a big effort for these drivers. Kyle Busch in the 12th spot there. Looked like he was really making some moves and bumping people out of the way there, and good effort for him. Connor Zilic in 14th, 1 year after a crash with Daniel Suarez put him in last place there. I think there was a lot of anticipation about what he could do this weekend, and he showed a lot of heart in both these races, I thought. Certainly in the Saturday race, having early issues there and getting back up there. and getting up to the 4th spot only for contact from Corey Day to take him out of the race and drop him back in the order. Same thing here with this one. Zilic involved in 2 different spins in turn 1 that dropped him back into the order, one of which he was in row 2 for a restart. Looked like he was going to potentially kind of mix things up there with Van Gisbergen there behind the duo of Blaney and Reddick up front. Unfortunately, didn't turn out that way, but regardless, a fine effort that he had this weekend. So we'll see where things turn around there as well. Other drivers that stand out here, William Byron back in the 13th spot. Joey Logano got banged around a little bit, involved in that earlier incident with Noah Gragson there in 15th. Brad Keselowski, kudos to him, making it to the checkered flag with the leg that he had injured over the offseason. About 70 days ago to coming into this race, had Joey Hand on standby to be able to step in for him, though, but did not use that driver. There was a long pit stop that he had on the first pit stop of the race, and I was wondering, watching the HBO camera here, seeing if somebody was going to be able to step in there and swap drivers. I thought for sure, for as long as it was taking, that was happening, but it was not happening, and Keselowski stayed in the car there for the finish, so a gutsy effort out there, especially, again, with on top of the issues of the heat and the exhaustion that a lot of drivers faced in this one here as well. Austin Dillon had the shifter break off and finished in the 19th spot. Great effort by the Richard Childress team to piece that back together. Had a guy climb through the right side window and be able to salvage that. And I think a lot of these runs, I know that road courses can be really unpredictable and things change really quickly, but there was so much stability through the field because there was such low attrition and so many people on the lead lap that if you had even a minor issue, if you had a spin, if you had a little bit of fender damage or something, you're going to drop all the way to last place. And we saw that a couple of times in this race here too. But for people to dig back out of that hole in the 3rd stage with only that one caution really to break it up with loose wheel, tremendous efforts for these drivers. I think they showed a lot of determination out there. And I know there's a lot of the field out there that's going to be having to recover from all this and try to get their minds together for Phoenix next week. But again, kudos to Keselowski on that. Noah Gragson was in last place for a couple of phases of this race, ends up in the 22nd spot. Even got, again, spun out into the barrier on the shortcut there and ended up in 22nd. So a fine effort for him under the circumstances. Josh Berry was in last for a bit after a pit road altercation, ends up in 26th. Then you get back a bit further to the people that struggled at the end. Carson Hocevar nearly bringing out the caution when the race came down to the final lap, spun out on the front straightaway. And again, kudos to the NASCAR officials to not throw a caution for every little thing. Having local cautions at a road course is something that really needs to be instituted a lot more. I don't know if that was the case in this one. It seemed like they were just really holding back the caution since it was so close to the main flag stand there. But regardless, Hocevar kept the car going. Nice paint scheme, by the way. The Intimidente paint scheme looked pretty nice. Unfortunately, did not have a good showing out there in the 31st spot. And then you get to the very back of the field here. Chase Briscoe with his first last place finish of this year. Had terrible luck there at the very end of this one. Right as he passed the pit entrance and getting through turn 20 onto the front straightaway, listening to the HBO cameras, which were tremendously helpful for this race in particular. You could hear him try to get through the gears and the transaxle just came apart. It sounded really rough. He just couldn't get it into gear. I don't know how he got that thing all the way back around the track. And actually only fell to about 16th spot. He was 3rd when that happened and fell to about 16th spot when he pulled onto pit road, directed him back behind the wall, and they just couldn't fix it. It had been damaged so badly, and it was so late in the race, about 62, 63 laps into the race, I believe, so about 2/3 of the way into the event, and were declared out of the race. Around this same time, we had Alex Bowman pull behind the wall, mentioning him earlier. Again, hope he's doing okay after he had to climb out of the car from exhaustion. And who but Myatt Snyder, who was working with Jamie Little here for Fox. Some late-breaking news there during the broadcast of Snyder and his treetop uniform from his efforts there in the O'Reilly series, or back in the Xfinity series there, hopping aboard. I was starting to wonder who the relief driver was going to be. Obviously, it couldn't be Joey Hand for his connection with Ford, even though he was available there for the Ford team, and they weren't going to put Chase Briscoe in there, being a Toyota manufacturer driver, even though he had just fallen out of the event too. Maybe in a different era, that would have been more possible. But these days, with the manufacturer alignments being what they are, certainly looking for a driver with, I guess, different connections there. But Snyder is driven for RSS Racing during their time in Chevy. and other Chevy programs out there, and I suppose was the best option they had for that, and a great deal for him being able to get out there and run, about a dozen or so laps in the next gen car, which he hadn't done before. Great effort for him. I'm glad that he was able to get that experience and be able to help out the Hendrick Motorsports team. He did pull off the track when the leaders are taking the white flag. You could see that on pit road there. And ended up pulling the car behind the wall. I understand he didn't get any media availability, so that's disappointing. I don't know if anybody else caught up with him in the infield there or anything, but it'd be very interesting to understand, what he was experiencing in the car and how well he adjusted to it. Brad Perez, who actually did relief driver role for J.J. Yaley yesterday, was posting pictures from text messages he was having with Myatt this afternoon, trying to figure out the track, and then suddenly come to find out that he's the one that's getting tapped to drive the 48 car. So as other people were posting on social media, yeah, make sure you keep your helmet with you. I know Brad has been doing that, and it's good to see Myatt do that as well. And you never know who's going to turn up in there. Relief drivers are another wonderful element to this championship format changing. If a win doesn't get you in, and if you're struggling so much at the beginning of the year, like Alex Bowman's been doing, and every little point matters, you're going to need a relief driver to try to get that car to the finish line by any means possible. I felt the same way about the damaged vehicle policy zone and trying to get scenarios where teams are going to be more determined to get back out there. And even if they just gain 1 or 2 more points or something like that, that could spell the difference. So that would be the case there too. Sorry about that. But looking at the same time there, the relief drivers can be a really compelling storyline coming up here. Who's available, what crew members are available and people there. And, who's going to be helping get these teams the best runs they can. Unfortunately, in this case here, Snyder wasn't able to gain any more points for him, not for any lack of effort on his end there. It was just a matter of there just wasn't anybody else falling out of the race, really. But it was a gamble because those late race restarts, you never know what's going to happen. You're going to get a couple people spinning out, and then suddenly some gamble like that can pay off. So, again, I think from this race, that's probably the biggest thing I took from it there. On top of, again, the tremendous accomplishment by Reddick, who I don't think everybody was expecting to be like the guy this year for how much he struggled last season with everything that was going on off the track, both in his personal life and, of course, the lawsuit here too. To have this breakout start to the year is tremendous, and we'll see next week at Phoenix if it continues, or if somebody else steps up, or again, his teammate Bubba Wallace has had some good runs at Phoenix before too. Maybe things turn that direction or whatever, or maybe if we're going by the lawsuit, are the front row teammates going to step up and have Zane Smith, Gilliland, or Gregson in the mix there? So we'll find out. But that's the exciting part. That's what I think is so good about this change in the point system. Again, the chase system's not the best part there compared to a full season one, but really at this point of the season, it pretty much is like the full season championship, because it is about positioning yourself, having the best run you can, and staying in touch with the top 16, really in this case. I was about to say the top 10 like it used to be, but still having that element in there, that's the really exciting part. So I'm glad to see that. I hope that in these next few races, we're really going to get more of that feeling, and I think this was a good step that direction. So again, not the craziest race out there, but I found it enjoyable. I honestly didn't have a problem with it. I didn't feel disengaged from it because I really was curious, especially from the different strategies at the beginning, people that were trying to turn the stage on its head, or if they're going to pit with a couple laps to go in the stage, or they're going to stay out. How many people stayed out at the end of stage one was interesting as well. Just letting it shake out. I don't need, 15 cautions and 8 multi-car pileups to make this interesting. And I think this was one where, again, fans should be really encouraged to make use of things like the scanner and like the HBO cameras and so forth. And I know not everybody has access to that. I know it can get a bit pricey too. And hopefully maybe these broadcasts can integrate that a bit more. I know Steve Toronto is doing a great job there, showing bits from the onboard cameras and bringing that in there whenever the Fox broadcast didn't. So that was great. And hopefully, we get more of that down the line there too. Because when you get a race like this, there's way more going on than it may, seem like at the time. And this one still definitely had that element too. So yeah, I like that there was some good battles through the field there, and yeah, people got strung out, but I would much rather the race just play out naturally than have 7 overtime finishes and all that too. Not to say a boring race doesn't exist, but again, I think again the battle up front, the surprise of who's going to fall out of the race. I mean, when you have a race like this with such low attrition, anybody can finish last because anybody can drop to last place. And that'll be kind of an interesting article to write later tonight. So whether it's Chase Briscoe or if we get any disqualifications, this all, of course, pending the results of post-race inspection, we'll find out if that's going to be the case here too, and go from there. Looking at it unofficially here, Ross Chastain shown with the fastest lap of the race at a 99.68. However, I wonder if that's going to be in violation of that rule that they had where if you go to the garage area and then you come back out, you're not eligible for those points. I mean, Chastain really wasn't in that situation. He got a 2-lap penalty for a loose wheel, and he never really went to the garage area. Maybe that's why it's still showing it there. But indeed, coming back out there with fresh tires after that late miscue and getting the fastest lap, so far, it's still categorizing him as the winner there. So I guess that would be the difference. So kudos to him at that position there too. Looking at other drivers through the field, let's see. Priest had a penalty at one point. Ty Dillon almost probably came the closest to running into one of those tire stacks there in the S's when he kind of cut through the corners there at the beginning of the race. Yeah, that's pretty much the long and short of it there on that. So again, congratulations for sure to Reddick on the win. And again, I'm very excited to see how this plays out for the rest of the season there in how these races are portrayed at the same time. I was getting questions already I'm seeing about the St. Petersburg race. We're absolutely going to get to that. We'll finish up with Cota here first and talk about the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series race. Then we'll get into the St. Petersburg deal there. I did not watch the IndyCar race this morning, so I don't really have anything to add on that. But hopefully that was a good showing there at the same time. But we'll do that, and we'll do some trivia here. We'll talk about the Ryan Sieg video as well. Big thanks to those of you guys for checking out that video. We'll talk about that a little bit later in the show here as well. So the consequence of Tyler Reddick pulling off his 3rd straight victory in the Cup Series this season is Shane Van Gisbergen is still not a winner at Cota in the Cup Series. However, he was also not a winner in the O'Reilly Series up until yesterday, where he pulled off the victory over Austin Hill, Sammy Smith, Jesse Love, and Corey Day in the top 5, but it almost was not the case there. Connor Zilic, again, mentioning him earlier, coming back from earlier incidents and climbing into the top 5, ended up with some contact from Corey Day, battling for the 4th place spot and dropping him out of contention there as well. Certainly don't blame Zilic for being upset about it. I know Corey Day is a rookie. He's still new. He's still figuring things out. But there does get to be a point where you have a series of these races in a row. I don't feel like I'd have to rewatch my shows from the last couple weeks. I don't think I mentioned him as much at Daytona. I think I was starting to talk a bit about him a bit more at Atlanta. And now this week you got this one where it's just like, okay, yeah, maybe the car was damaged and it pushed up into Zilic. But you still got your tools. You can slow down. You can, maneuver your car a little better. Doesn't mean you're inevitably going to run into somebody, especially if you're able to have said damage and still run 4th late in a road course race. It seems like you should be able to have the car control to avoid an incident there. It's easy to be the Sunday afternoon quarterback sitting here in the chair, but I'll go ahead and say it. And it's, hopefully it's something that's going to work out and it doesn't become a weekly feature on here. There's always so much criticism about Carson Hocevar and saying, oh gosh, he's so aggressive and he's making all these stupid moves, and the thing in Atlanta where he squeezed the car through the middle and there wasn't really a hole there. It's like, okay, the man's going for the lead. He's going for the win. I don't see as much of the frustration there. Certainly not anything more than what we saw with Ross Chastain. There's always going to be some guy that's like, going to be a real challenge out there that's really going to push the aggression. I mean, I've been around long enough to see when that was Tony Stewart or when that was Ernie Irvan or when that was Robbie Gordon. And things have always worked out one way or the other, whether it's an explicit situation where Irvin made a public apology to the drivers. I don't think that was really necessary even at the time. But then other guys where maybe their driver just kind of took them under their wing. I mean, Tony Stewart talks a lot about a conversation he had with Mike Wallace that kind of calmed a lot of his kind of, anger issues out there and his aggression. Different drivers dealing with it in different ways. It'll get worked out. I don't think the media needs to necessarily step in and make that, their problem or anything. But I think if anything else, you just kind of point out that, hey, here's another guy that, is a Mr. Excitement type. Jimmy Spencer, very much in the same situation there in his career. What was it? I think Mike Joy brought this up in the broadcast here today about Jimmy being blamed for an incident when he wasn't even on the track. So, and you saw that from 500 days as well about how critical people were of his driving back then. You want to have guys like that out there. You don't want everybody to be like that because then you just get a demolition derby. But if you have a couple of guys like that, it's not really a bad thing. You want people like that to make things interesting. What you don't want is you want a driver there that is new and is constantly just running over people at the same time, whether it's the back of the pack or the front of the pack or anywhere, and you just can't trust getting around the guy. That's a different issue. I think that's where Hocevar is very different from Corey Day in that respect. Again, hopefully somebody is going to be, helping Day out. He's certainly got fast enough car under him there with the Hendrick Motorsports effort out there. And he's, a talented enough driver to get this ride to begin with. I know there's a lot of people here in California that are very excited about him from his races here on the short tracks out here. But, you got to figure it out, and you can't be tearing up a bunch of stuff, and you can't be getting in a bunch of wrecks with people there. So, that's it. It's a narrow difference, but it's an important one because I think it's one thing if it's a choice, and it's another thing if you have it just from inexperience. And sometimes you got to learn by getting in the deep end there. But if you're ticking too many people off and you're only 3 races into the season, that's going to be an issue. So, we'll see how that gets shaken out here these next few races. Now watch, we'll bring this up and maybe in the next couple of weeks, he ends up pulling off a win and then we're in a whole different position. But we'll see. It'll be another story to follow here at the same time. At the other end of the field, Austin J. Hill, no relation to either Timmy Hill or Austin Hill, was your last place finisher. First time he got a last place finish in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series and only his second series start. He ran at Watkins Glen last year, failed to qualify at Sears Point and the Charlotte Roval. Good to see him back out there trying to get some deals going there with the Joey Gase team. Unfortunately, just had a litany of problems, blown engine in practice, suspension failure the first few laps of this race here. His teammate Sage Karam, same deal, issues with the brakes, issues with lost sway bar arm. The team couldn't get replacement parts to get him back out there. Ultimately, the suspension failed on the left front and took him out of the race. So, in terms of a team that's really struggling in the O'Reilly series, the Joey Gase team is off to a very, very rough start. Had 3 cars at Daytona. 2 of them didn't qualify. The third one was Natalie Decker when she got in the big wreck. He come out to Atlanta. Chad Fincham's had pretty much the best run they've had of any of the teams this year by being up there. I believe their other car with Gase was further back in the order. And then you had this issue here with Austin J. Hill and Sage Karam. I'm sure they're looking ahead to Phoenix to just have just a calm race and hopefully just finish mid-pack and build things back up from there with the car in one piece. Speaking of cars in one piece, good to see Baltazar Leguizamon doing okay after a brutal hit in turn 1. Brake failure coming up the hill there in the number 30 car for the Barrett Cope effort. Slammed into the outside wall. The camera angles were from a distance, but it still seemed like a frightening incident there. Brakes must have just gone to the floor. Good to see him climb out, although he tweeted later, I retweeted his post there afterwards, that he was still feeling very sore after that incident. So hopefully he'll be doing better after that. Josh Bilicki out with suspension issues, and Ryan Ellis involved in a late race incident there too that dropped him to the 34th spot. Another driver that was unfortunate we didn't really get to see what he could do there at the finish. Austin Green, you may recall, got the first of his very surprising runs of the road courses. Of course, not surprising he's good at the road courses for his Trans Am experience, but the effort that he had with the Peterson team at the time, working with Jordan Anderson's effort, getting in the top 5 there, his great run at Sears Point not long after. This year, going for a full-time effort out there, was right among the leaders, flirting with the top 10 at least. And then, unfortunately, car broke down there towards the end. He ended up with the 33rd spot towards the very last car on the lead lap there, too. So an unfortunate deal there for him. Hopefully things turn around for the Peterson Racing Group there as well. Raja Karuth with some damage there after an incident. I appreciate the difference in the paint scheme between him and Corey Day. I didn't expect to get as much of a discussion about that. Honestly, to me, I could see that car looks a little bit darker than Day's car does. I think in this race, it was a bit clearer than the other two. I don't know if that changed more this week. I know they added the red accents on there, but from a distance, you can't really see the red accents very well. And you can't always see the roof number, even though that's a different color. Again, I think inverted paint schemes would actually be pretty hip. Make Day change his, because he's having all these problems right now. Just kind of flip things around there and have him do like white over blue and keep Raja with the blue over white. I think that would be a perfectly reasonable fix there, if you don't want to get rid of the overall scheme, but who knows if that's going to happen or anything on that. Parker Retzlaff unable to keep things going from his runner-up finish there to Sheldon Creed in Atlanta, ends up in the 30th spot there. Harrison Burton has had a really rough start. I believe he leads all drivers without a last-place finish in the last car standings, with a bottom 10 finish in each of these first three races this year with the Sam Hunt Racing effort, and that's a strong team. But they've just had terrible luck. Could have had an even more serious incident. We got spun out in traffic. Jeremy Clements doing a great job getting around him. And Clements himself having all kinds of issues in this race weekend there. Getting into the kitty litter at one point. Having a power steering failure. Having another suspension issue there during the race. All kinds of altercations, and coming home in the 32nd spot there too. I mentioned JJ Yaley earlier. Again, I got a message back from him last night. Good to hear that he's doing okay after he was relieved by Brad Perez there late in the race. Brad getting the car back to the 28th spot. So finishing on the lead lap and gaining a couple positions there while he was helping out the Randy Young effort there on Ryan Ellis's team. So good effort for him there too, to be able to help out. The Sieg brothers, after doing the Ryan Sieg video this week, Ryan ends up in the 16th spot. Brother Kyle ends up in 24th through the field there too. Sam Mayer looked like he was going to really maybe have something going there at the beginning of that race. But Shane just really had the measure of everybody in this one. That pass he made in the stadium section where he flashed the fingers out the window, that was really cool. He just made some unbelievable passes out there. And there's just nothing you can do. Whether it was in turn one, everybody's stacking up and going, 3 and 4 wide, and he just kind of goes very smoothly through the inside there and takes the lead. Or again, that one in the carousel there past Mayer, and I'm trying to remember who the other driver was. I think it was one of the JRM guys. Just got by him effortlessly. It was just beautiful. Masterclass by Shane Van Gisbergen, leading 31 of the 65 laps and winning by a comfortable margin there over Austin Hill. The broadcast kept talking up Jesse Love for some reason, like he was going to be able to pull off the win. He did get a 4th place finish, which was solid. And again, continuing a strong start to his season overall. But Van Gisbergen really making a name for himself too. And speaking of which, we have to talk about Brent Cruz, youngest driver since Casey Atwood in 1998 at the Nashville Fairgrounds to lead an O'Reilly Series auto parts race. Tremendous effort for him. 6th place finish out there in his series debut. Just fantastic out there. I mean, what a wonderful story there. And kudos to the broadcast, the CW broadcast. Maybe not as spectacular as last week in Atlanta, but the race wasn't as spectacular. Still solid in covering that. And seeing him work his way back up there and driving through traffic on one of those restarts. I thought he did a phenomenal job out there. This is the same kid, right, that we saw at the Roval last year that should have won that race before Corey Heim caught him. At the end, Heim coming back from some incidents in the early part of that race. Cruz, he gets going. He's gonna probably set some more records here before this year's over. We'll see what he does in his future starts there too. William Sawalich did a great job coming back from some nose damage, pretty heavy damage at one point. The 18 car again. Everything since Sears Point last year has been Jake for him. He's been so much fun to watch in that 18 car out there, and I wish him continued success on that too. And Brennan Poole with his first top 10 finish of the year in Texas, in his home state. Good to see there as well for the Alpha Prime team. He got up there past Sheldon Creed in the closing stages and held on there at the finish. A good effort there for him too. And Alex LeBay driving Garrett Smithley's car. You may remember Carson Hocevar in his relief driver role for Smithley last year had a minor incident Hocevar bounced the car off the wall, climbed out too early. Really the car could have easily been fixed, but unfortunately they were out of the race. No such mistake here. LeBay stayed in the car and finished in the 13th spot. And with also, much like Sawalich, some pretty significant nose damage. We saw some pictures that were posted on LeBay's page earlier today. Did a fine job out there. Carson Kvapil making the most out of the JR Motorsports and Mario Gosselin combined effort there. We saw him up front there for a bit, qualified in the 6th spot, ends up in 19th, but able to keep things going for him this year. Again, I don't entirely understand the logistics of that. I don't see why they don't just put Zilich in the Mario Gosselin car and keep Kvapil in the number he's had, for all of his rookie season last year. But, I guess there's more complications to these decisions than may first appear there. But, again, kind of a quicker last place battle for sure. We had Anthony Alfredo with some issues earlier in the race and things kind of changing out from there. But, again, solid race on that. I thought that Van Gisbergen put on another clinic, but it was very entertaining to watch there. And, again, CW did a solid job on that broadcast. Today's broadcast in the Cup race, not as spectacular, but, again, I felt like I was able to kind of tune out more of it in this one. These days, I kind of listen to the HBO on board in one ear and the official scanner in the other. So it's kind of coming and going in the background. But, again, I didn't think it was anything too bad. And think little things like the Jimmy Spencer story were still great. And I appreciated that there too. So I do want to jump headlong into the Truck Series race at St. Petersburg. Probably the race of the weekend. I think that might be, maybe that's overstating it a little bit, but, I think myself, like a lot of people, were anticipating this was going to be just a complete disaster, that it was going to be, this track wasn't going to be very well suited to the trucks, even though the trucks have put on some good races before over at Moe's Sports. And again, mentioning the one at the Roval last year with Brent Cruz and Corey Heim, I thought it was a solid race. Maybe not the best broadcast, except for one element, that's for sure. Townsend Bell, for being, I don't know how much he follows NASCAR, how closely he does. Obviously, he does the IndyCar coverage. That's his background. But he had a wonderful way of condensing down this race to a storyline. And I believe the way he put it was the truck masters versus the track masters, that you had people like Frank Eady and James Hinchcliffe, who were not only past IndyCar drivers that ran at St. Petersburg, but also won at St. Petersburg in different years. Indeed, Hinchcliffe, it was his first career IndyCar win. Having them in there and then matching them against the Truck Series regulars, including some returning figures like Colin Brown back out there. I thought he did a wonderful job up there, and he had a great curiosity as to what was happening, which was unfortunate because Jimmy Little and Michael Waltrip were terrible at explaining things. Like Townsend Bell would kind of bring up something that was happening, like the loose wheel in the 22 truck. And Michael Waltrip would be like, yeah, that's not supposed to happen. It's like, okay, well, go into explaining what's happening. Like, it's like, all right, explain it to Townsend, and then you're explaining it also to the audience. Like, and they just wouldn't do it. They kind of were like, they just kind of moved on. It's like, who knows if that ever got fixed, or who knows if that was a problem later. We have moved pretty far from the, you don't want to leave the audience with a why question that we heard from the Larry McReynolds quote that I mentioned in 500 Days there. I'm afraid we're in a slightly different dimension from that now. But Townsend was a wonderful asset there. Again, I think that he kind of took the place of like the audience, especially if the audience wasn't that aware of the Truck Series, kind of figuring out who these drivers were, who are the big names and who are the ones that are kind of struggling. What are the good teams and the not so good teams? What are the features of this track? And what parts are really treacherous? I mean, we saw, spins in that first corner coming off the runway, much like we see in the IndyCar series. Excuse me. Saw a couple other incidents there. The concrete barriers. Nathan Nicholson had a very hard hit there coming through there, as did Minnie Tyrell. A couple of drivers having issues there at the back of the field. I just thought it was a really interesting race. It had a lot of interesting complexions to it. And then Fox kind of suddenly realized, oh, wait, we got a fuel mileage in the factor. And, it's like, we don't know if the leader's going to make it there. And then at the same time, they're using the entire last 2 laps to call Lane Riggs home, even though it's not certain he's going to make it. Ultimately, it was. They pretty much finished their call when he made it off the last corner, but that straightaway is long enough. I still felt like, he could run out of gas and lose this thing at the end. Again, I think that it was interesting, and I was certainly not the only one pointing this out. Many people were really pleased with Townsend on this. He made it. He single-handedly made the broadcast way, way better. He can't do anything to fix the camera work, although I thought the camera work for this one wasn't bad, really. I'm sure it's because they're using the IndyCar angles or whatever. But there were some great shots, like the harbor, a lot of the more technical sections of the track. It was very rare that we would miss an incident. Even if it was, again, the Nicholson one stood out because it seemed like they kind of had a ground angle, and they were kind of looking into, kind of a tighter part of the track. And this happened in the foreground, and they still caught it. So it's like, great. I guess I credit that as much to Fox investing more effort and focus into the IndyCar series. But yeah, I found it very enjoyable, and very cool. So yeah, I hope it gets back on the circuit again. Lane Riggs pulling it off on fuel mileage was definitely not what I expected. And Ben Rhodes being as aggressive as he was fantastic out there. Some of those moves he was making through the S's were really impressive, even for him. I know he's kind of a wild horse rider out there, but I never really think about his road course performance. And then, of course, street courses being a whole other creature on top of that. He was outstanding out there. And I think that's a great start for him, on top of the fact that Ty Majeski, his teammate at the Thor Sport team, was leading a couple laps there, too. Great effort up there. Lane Riggs with your win. Ty Majeski in second. Ben Rhodes in third. Chandler Smith and Caden Honeycutt, your top five. Landon Lewis, not in his first start, but one of his first starts there, with a sixth place finish there for him. Andre Perez de Lara in seventh. Eighth place spot for Daniel Hemrick, who at one point was in the back of the field, started 34th, was trailing the field coming to the line at one point after getting some damage. Great recovery for him. Colin Brown in his first start in 15 years comes out driving the Ram team there, and he's the highest finishing Ram, right? The ninth spot there. Yeah. I mean, him getting up there, great to see good features there on his road course experience, being a 24 Hours of Daytona winner, overall event winner. What a wonderful moment there. I mean, I haven't seen more of his interviews from the weekend yet, but I'm sure he was getting a lot of attention as well. He should. Great effort for him there, too. I mean, I was really pleased to see how that shook out. And then completing the top 10, James Hinchcliffe. Great to see, both him and Dario Franchitti back out there and in racing in general. I mean, for Hinchcliffe, trying something different here in NASCAR. Had a great battle there with Franchitti at one point, then bouncing off each other in turn one. That was so much fun. That reminded me so much of seeing Boris Said and Ron Fellows bouncing off each other at Sears Point. You want to see these guys that are the best of that group and what they can offer out there. And it was really fun to see. I know Franchitti had a late race pit stop that dropped him back, and he had an issue with the cool suit and everything. But Franchitti was great out there too. He was in the top 10 in and around there pretty much the whole day. Whereas Hinchcliffe had an even crazier day, it seemed like, with the damage that he had. But they were both a lot of fun to watch, and it was something big to see. And for Franchitti to come back after that horrible wreck he had in 2013, which was in Houston, wasn't it? I mean, it was like, also, that was in Texas, this being in Florida. But, just to have him back out there and thinking back to 2008 when he was in the Cup Series and the sponsorship didn't work out, but he had some good runs in the Nationwide Series and trying to kind of figure things out on his end. He was really, really fun to watch, and that was good to see. And a great paint scheme too. The Dollar Tree branding there looked really good on the Tricon effort there. That was really entertaining to watch at the same time. The only drawback, really, when you have these standalone events, you don't have access to the onboard audio. I would have loved to hear the audio for these drivers and just the comings and goings happening through the field here, because we did have some kind of interesting attrition here, too, at the back of the field. Wesley Slimp with a power steering issue. Not the first time that's happened in the Truck Series, but I believe it's like the third time there. First time since 2020. Really just dropped off the pace after an early spin. I don't entirely understand what was happening there with that, but it was just catastrophic for the 62 team in that situation there, too. Derek White next to last. Fuel pump issue cost him to stall in the S's there, dropped him back to the 35th spot. Nathan Nicholson after his hit with the wall there. Dawson Sutton in 33rd. And Timmy Hill was 17 laps down. I don't know what happened there. I'm sure some mechanical issue sending them behind the wall there. This is something that NASCAR really does need to figure out, because I hope they don't get rid of these standalone events, because they're fascinating. They're always at really interesting venues. They add some extra spectacle to the weekend. It's a little bit of a scheduling issue. Kind of reminds me of like the Mid-Ohio to Michigan ones we had a few years ago. This truck race was unusually long. I think they underestimated how long this race was going to be. And it pretty much butted up against the start of the O'Reilly race at Cota. But luckily they got it in. And it was for exhausting as it was for the drivers that were in the field there too. They got to get it to so you can actually hear the audio there. I mean, we had the same issues in Canada and Milwaukee and some of these other tracks that were standalone events. That's something NASCAR really needs to work on. I don't know what the logistics are of it. I assume it's something with their Cup Series race control or something, because whenever Cup Series is there, you really don't have that same issue. But we'll find out if that's going to be the case. But something else to look at. There was a great picture that was posted before this race. Jackson Lee, who started in the 22 truck, he was the one with the loose steering wheel. He actually took a picture with Dario Franchitti as a kid, and so now you got to actually race against him and take a picture with him again. That was really cool. And it went really well. And it went really well in spite of, qualifying being canceled, practice being cut short by rain after like 5 laps. I guess there was some issue with the wet weather tires or whatever the deal was. It went really well. And I think, and I was pleased to hear there was a post that was made yesterday, and I retweeted, excuse me, that I think captured the week well. I want to make sure I'm quoting it correctly, because I think it summed things up very well from the race there. Where is it? Looking back. Where are we? Not there. Not there. Checking through here. Let's see. Looking at the same time here, Tyler Reif also released after heat exhaustion in that race yesterday too, the Truck Series race. Good to see him doing okay there too. Again, yeah, I mean, there's only so much you can do to prepare in this weekend, and you wouldn't think late February, early March being that hot, and it's a good thing they scheduled this race, and they did. I imagine if this was in the summer or something else, it was going to be even more of a situation there too. That's right, there was the brake issue that Zilich had there that kind of screwed up his day there before Corey Day got there too. Let's see, where is it? Yeah, this is the O'Reilly race there too. It basically came down to the, I'm going to have to paraphrase here because I don't know where I had it here on this, but it just kind of, it had the element there where the fans there were mostly an IndyCar group and didn't really have that much awareness of NASCAR, but they seemed like they really enjoyed the Truck Series there. But the only issue they really had was the number of cautions, that the stage cautions seemed absurd and that they seemed to go on way too long. And I definitely understand that because it certainly was already a long race and it stretched things out so much further there. And I'm sure they were just enjoying the competition that the NASCAR teams had out there. They wanted to see more of that, and that's wonderful. I hope that the net effect of this week and next week at Phoenix, where we have the IndyCar and the Cup Series and O'Reilly Series participating at the same track there, I hope that's going to, encourage, some more interest between the two disciplines there, and more drivers, attempting both, really. That could be really exciting. I don't know what's on tap for Phoenix. We're going to find out when the entry lists get posted. But I was encouraged by that, and it shows that maybe the stage cautions could go, the way of the playoffs here eventually, and we just let these races just go through. It's absurd. We could have got through this Cota race today in probably, 20 minutes quicker without the cautions there at least. So that's another way to look at it. But I'm glad to see that, IndyCar fans, they didn't look at this. They weren't looking down their nose at the Truck Series ones. It sounded like they really enjoyed the racing out there, and having a couple of their guys in it, I'm sure certainly helps. They put on a good show out there, and I'm glad it was a success. And I'm glad that the rain didn't screw everything up. That would have sucked, honestly. But that's great. That's great. So, yeah, not really much notes from that. So, um, again, talking about the heat conditions there through the weekend, and different incidents along the way there too. But I thought it came out pretty good. So I thought that was good. The element of the other reason I want to kind of emphasize the fan response to the Truck Series race is the way the crowd perceives these races is something that really needs to be factored into when NASCAR makes these decisions, when it's about, oh, we're going to put this gimmick in, or we're going to change this, or we're going to make this more interesting. It's like, make it more interesting for who? Like, maybe it conveys well on TV, but some of these don't convey very well in the grandstands. They really don't. I've always felt this way about group qualifying, and it's a shame we still kind of have it on the road courses to an extent. It's not interesting, because when you're in the stands, it looks like it's like a 5-minute practice session and then it's over. And you're like, wait, what the hell happened? And somebody just kind of ends up at the pole. It's like maybe 5 minutes and then stops. And it's 5 minutes and then stops again. It's like, well, okay, why don't we just have each car coming out? I mean, when you have each car coming out individually, which is thankfully becoming more common again, you can enjoy the experience of like, okay, this guy's faster than this guy, and this guy slots in here. and you get more of those genuine moments at the same time. Excuse me. All righty. Again, importance of hydrating has been just as important here as it is on the show, in the racetrack. But yeah, I mean, having it so that the audience understands what the hell is going on and making it as interesting for them would probably be a good starting point. And I think this playoffs, getting rid of the playoffs and having the championship be more epic and have it be a continuing storyline that it's like, oh, you remember this race where this happened, or this race where this happened, or this guy's on this streak and this guy's on a bad streak. Yeah, that's great. That's the kind of stuff people love to follow. And I think it's more enjoyable that way, honestly. I feel like I do that in my entry list articles in particular to kind of track that along the way, because again, you'll have teams that are on the rise and others that are struggling, and you want to see if they turn things around, or where it's going to happen, or if it happens at all, or if they make a big change to try to get there. That's part of the appeal. So hopefully that's where we get there at the same time. But, am I bopping around too much? I don't know. I didn't have that much caffeine today, but maybe I did. I don't know. That's kind of what it feels like. So there you go. I hope that's not too distracting. I guess our audio listeners maybe will have more fun with this here, but we'll find out. Let's see. Do we have any calls on inspection yet? I think that'd probably be another way to look at that. I don't think we do. St. Petersburg weekend. Yeah, Allmendinger just posting a picture 20 minutes ago saying all good, showing him talking with, looks like Matt Colleague and Chris Rice here, so that's good to see. Yeah, Bowman and Allmendinger released from the care center at Cota, this being 35 minutes ago. No word on inspection yet. I didn't mention this in the cup portion of this here, but yeah, transaxle issue is the official reason out for Chase Briscoe. This confirmed on the results here, and also heard that on the radio. That would be the first time that's actually happened. So we've certainly had transaxles in the sport, over these number of years for the next gen car, but first time that's actually been the listed reason out at the same time. We've had transmission issues, shifters, or whatever else there, but that could be the first of its kind, again, pending the results of post-race inspection. So we'll find out here at the same time. So, yeah, I think that's another big part of that. There was discussion this week about the All-Star race at Dover and the format that basically invites the whole field to start it, getting rid of what was the Winston Open or the All-Star Open, and just having everybody else start the race and then have an elimination round afterwards. Yeah, I don't entirely get that. I think that they're probably expressing concern after running the All-Star race at another concrete track at Bristol, where they tried short segments, and it didn't really work there. That Bristol All-Star race in like 2020 was not very good. And they're basically, taking what would be almost a 400 lap race there and kind of trying to add segments and stuff in there. I don't know. It's everybody's splitting hairs about these segments and so forth. But I go back to what we had in this Truck Series race at St. Petersburg yesterday, and I think it should be much more the focus of who is in these races. It's not, you can have them do whatever. You can have them stand on their head and get in the car and they do 5 laps and they get out and do jumping jacks. I don't care. Like, whatever the hell it is, it's a matter of who's in the race. That's what makes it an all-star race. And that used to be special because, you'd have a pretty selective amount of drivers that were capable of winning races, which is different now. Now you have a lot of different drivers that are capable of winning, but how many actually do? Past winners of the all-star race and so forth. And then maybe somebody races their way in through the open event. But, I think there really needs to be something where you get maybe some veteran drivers in there or drivers from other disciplines be part of it there. It would be very hard to do that these days because of, the manufacturer agreements, scheduling things and so forth. But you do see it every once in a while when you see, again, like the St. Petersburg deal, bringing out Franchitti and Hinchcliffe, put them in a race, put them in an all-star race and have that literally be, it's so much an all-star race just in name only. It's just the thing we do in May where it doesn't count for points. That's kind of what it's become. And it's not really about the venue and it's not about the segments. It's about who's in it. Now it pretty much has everybody in it, which defeats the whole purpose of it. I mean, the Clash is kind of turning into that too. At least the size of the field's limited more by the size of the track. So it's become kind of its own thing, which is fine. It's entirely divorced from, what the Clash was at Daytona. It's almost doesn't even really need the same name, but it's kind of in its place of it, and that's fine. And I certainly understand if you're going to sell tickets for it, you're going to have as many cars in there as possible. But I would love to see something where, you have veteran drivers out there, you have maybe retired drivers, and you have to choose the venue very carefully. You couldn't do it at Dover for the same reason you couldn't do it at Bristol, because of course we had that serious accident there with the Scott's Easy Seed showdown there, and what was it? Larry Pearson was involved in that accident out there. You can't have that. So maybe have it either a slower track or maybe slower cars, maybe bring out late models or something just like that, just for fun. I mean, you could change anything. But again, maybe not run the current Cup car. One suggestion I liked that I saw online, I don't know, I remember who it was suggesting they run like the old versions of the car. And I'm like, oh, that could be interesting. I don't know, maybe make it a vintage race or, run the Gen 6 car instead because they just can't get rid of them. I don't know how many of them are in the ARCA teams or whatever, but maybe try something that direction. Just look into that and just make things like that. I mean, something closer to IROC, basically. If we don't have IROC anymore, even to the point where when we had the SRX series, they didn't even really make it IROC because you had, young and up and coming stars and stuff. And they had local, drivers and they had retired drivers. It was kind of all over the place. It was fun. It was great. I do miss it to an extent. But I think the all-star race, if you have something that's closer to, literally you just take on all challengers and have maybe that small nucleus of winners just in there. And that's it. Maybe not even past winners of the all-star race, but just kind of just past winners of the last year. So maybe it's like, even now it'd be 8 or 9 different drivers out there, or 10 or 12, put them in there and then get another 10 or 12 drivers of all-stars, maybe dirt track champions or IndyCar legends or Formula One guys. You get Lewis Hamilton out here or something, get Dario Franchitti in it and make it as safe as possible. Maybe again, slower track, maybe run it at Bowman Gray, maybe do something like that. I don't know. And then do that. Then who's in it then you have a prestigious event and put a hell of a lot more money in it. Make it $5 million, make it $10 million if you can. I don't know where inflation puts us right now, but something like that. Put that in there, and then you got yourself quite the show. So that's where we need to turn the focus to. I don't know why that's the elephant in the room that just isn't there, that we just don't talk about that. But hopefully that's something that we get to, because I think that's where we need to turn things around. But we'll find out. I also watched that. There was that DC Solar documentary, the one about the sponsorship that was in NASCAR, and I think they just released the first two parts of it. There, that was quite good. If you haven't seen that yet, how they recommend that? I didn't realize their headquarters was here in the Bay Area, but given the nature of that sponsorship, I think it's interesting to see, especially given talking about things like the Bobby Ginn deal there years later and other sponsors that come in and around. I mean, ever since then, I've always kind of felt that way when you have a brand that you've just never heard of, and now suddenly they're everywhere. Suddenly they're on it, they're sponsoring every race, they're sponsoring a car, they're sponsoring an award, they're sponsoring this and that. I'm always like, boy, they're not going to be around very long. And time and again, that's been the case. It was like that with DC Solar, it was like that with IK9, it was like that with Bobby Ginn. I guess the latest one you could probably compare it to now is this Poet Company. I don't know what their deal is. I mean, I'm not saying they're one like that, but I'm getting that because I don't know the first thing about them. All I know is suddenly they're advertising everything in these Fox broadcasts, and I'm like, who on earth are these guys? Again, maybe every once in a while it'll be something that becomes, maybe a long-standing relationship and it becomes a more popular brand. Hopefully things turn around. But I don't know. I kind of want to know more about these guys, and maybe that's what we'll find out. But we'll see. Yeah, that would be another one. Oh God, yeah, the Circuit City thing with Shane Lee. Yeah, that was a weird one too. Yeah, again, there's always it's frustrating. It's one aspect of NASCAR that I don't think gets enough attention. I applaud Slap Shoes for doing his series on it a while back, and because there are examples of it where just these brands come in, and yeah, there's a lot. You get wonderful brand activation in racing, and I'd hate to lose that in this sport. But yeah, there's been some companies and some people that have come into this with not the best intentions and not the best product. And yeah, it just, they put a lot into it, and a lot of people depend on those decisions, whether it's the drivers that sign with them or the sponsors or whatever. And then it just just goes up in smoke there. And the DC Solar one for the first two episodes has been very interesting so far. Because I didn't know a lot of that background, and it's definitely one to check out. So if you haven't watched it, where was it? I want to make sure I mention the channel on here too. Let's see. DC Solar NASCAR. Fireball. That was a channel. Fireball. Fireball series on Twitter on YouTube. It's got the @ symbol there in front of it there. Very interesting. It was produced actually by the videographer from DC Solar with great footage from that. Definitely saw this in a new light, which was interesting there too. So that'll be one to check out. I make sure to be specific on that because there's a bunch of other channels that have talked about it. I don't know about the quality of one to the next, but the Fireball one is quite good. So definitely recommend that. I'm curious right now, just seeing if they posted another episode. I think they just have the first two. Yeah, looks like just the first two. Yeah, goodness. So, yeah, definitely there. At the same time, saw the latest episode of Firestorm as well. Different series there. The Rick Houston one talked about Kenny Irwin Jr. Posted this week. I guess I believe it's 10 episodes. And it looks like, I guess they're going to be posted every week. It looks like they're starting with the Adam Petty one. So, yeah, solid job on that. Some interesting interviews there at the same time to talk about that. So we'll see where that series goes as well. Talking at the same time, getting the, I'm just looking at this. John Newby had a video there of Myatt Snyder coming out and talking with Chad Knaus there after the race. So that's cool. So, yeah. It is a shame when they don't do media availability with some of these guys. I mean, I had one where I want to talk to Noah Gragson when he was driving Alex Bowman's car. Actually, same team, come to think of it. It was at Las Vegas, and Gragson was running there, and he did really well. And they turned down the interview. I was like, wow, that's too bad. I figured you kind of want to hype this up a bit more, but that was a different deal there. But it's always different with these big teams there too. On that same note, yeah, again, the Ryan Sieg video, thank you so much for checking that out. I really enjoyed putting that together. I was meaning to make it over the off season. It was one of the few projects I was kind of kicking around. I'm like, man, I'd love to get this out because I wanted to have that hook in there about Sheldon Creed and Ryan Sieg being teammates at the Haas Factory team the last race of the year, and how interesting that was. I mean, you got the championship and all that other stuff going on there, but I was so much more interested in these two drivers being on the team. It just so happened to work out that way, that they had two of, the most notorious, winless streaks, especially second place finishes there in the series. Creed's career, of course, much newer than Sieg's has been. But once Creed won last week, that was pretty much what I spent pretty much this whole week on, was making that video and getting that out there. I was starting to kind of chew it over once I found out that Sieg had won that afternoon on Saturday, and got that out. So I appreciate you guys checking it out. I like doing ones on recent series, when I can. I think, again, this channel gets the reputation of not following or caring about the current state of the sport. Quite the opposite. I think there's a lot of very interesting stories and wonderful people that are involved that deserve to get their due there too. So I enjoyed putting that together. And big thanks to Ryan Sieg and his team as well, the RSS Racing effort, that they had a YouTube channel that saved a lot of those moments in individual videos. It made it much easier. It was easier to kind of track the key races there, but also get the footage much quicker. That was a tremendous help there too, especially getting it out that quickly. So I posted that up there last week. I definitely wanted to get it out before Cota, just in case he did win this weekend. He did not. He got the 16th place finish. But it was something that was very enjoyable there to do at the same time. So thank you guys for checking it out. And if you haven't seen the video, it is on there at this channel here. And I believe I settled with the story of Ryan Sieg and it being his turn to win. No series owes any driver anything. We'll find out what's going to be, what's going to be happening here too. But it would be a wonderful storyline, one of many in the series. For sure. So we'll find out where we go from there. So let's see. I think it's about all the notes I had on here. Yeah, that's about all I have on that. Yeah, that's about it on that part of it there. Let's see. Yeah, voting with the full broadcast too. Yes, those are wonderfully helpful there too. I think a couple of his videos ended up in the credits there of the Sieg video there too. So if you haven't seen that, and in fact, I brought this here too because I don't think it showed up as well in the Rockingham show. I did bring the artifact here as well for our show and tell segment, and there it is, the 39 piece. Put this on the thumbnail of the video. I was going to put the Phoenix piece in there too, but I couldn't find a subtle way of doing that. I brought this bad boy back out. So there we go. We got the debris and the tire mark there. This being the, I believe it was the right front fender there with the car number on that too. And I put that into the thumbnail of the video. Got a little bit of the splitter off there at the same time. And a little bit of the car number there, right there with the 39. And then I wrote a little note there on the back from where it was with the tire mark there. Ryan Sieg, number 39, Psyaps Ford, Rockingham, April 19th, 2025, led 77 laps and finished in the 18th spot. So definitely want to show that up here as well. So let's go from here. We'll do some trivia here towards that. Yep, that debris is from that's the Rockingham race last year, April of 2025, where Sieg led 77 laps and then was involved in an accident, and that is the right front fender that had to get cut off because Christian Eckes, who also wrecked Ryan Sieg in the Phoenix race that November, where we were covering that race as well, didn't get up to speed, and that was where that was from. So yeah, Andrew, that's where that came from there too. Alrighty. Let's see. Okay. So we'll do some trivia questions here as well. And okay, no, we kind of busted through those three races there. If you have any other questions or anything else I didn't cover from this week, feel free to mention it here in the chat and we'll get into that. I have a super chat here as well, so I'll get into that there shortly. And we'll bring out our late 90s trivia deal here too. Oh, the last Fruit Club fan, you're having a good time. So again, congratulations to your driver. Still waiting to hear on inspection. So far, again, Reddick leading 58 of the 95 laps at Cota and pulling off the victory there. So there we go. So again, NASCAR, teams, tracks, drivers, and the wild card. Oh, and pits. Can't leave that one out. I'm trying to memorize it here. NASCAR, pits, teams, tracks, drivers, and the wild card. Those are the categories on the old Trivial Pursuit machine. And we'll do a couple questions here to wrap up and talk about the action from this week here too. What is Reddick's track record at Phoenix? That would be a good thing to look at. Let's pull that up right now. I don't believe he's won there, not in the Cup Series. Has he won there in the O'Reilly Series? I don't think so. I mean, he was good at a lot of those tracks he was driving for Childress, but I don't remember exactly where that shook out. Here we go. Yeah, Reddick playing with house money at this point here. No wins at Phoenix. He has 2 top 5s and 4 top 10s in 12 starts. He has only failed to finish there once, which was his first ever start there in 2020. He led 68 laps in the spring of 2024 and finished in the 10th spot. I think that was the one where he finally kind of got his footing there in the 45 car. I remember he had like some struggles at the beginning of the year. He's kind of the opposite of this year. He kind of struggled the first 3 races, then he looked good there, and that kind of picked things up from there. But he got 3rd in 2022 and 3rd in his first race in the 45 at the track in 2023. So good efforts there. But last year he finished 20th and 26th in the 2 races there. So definitely looking to turn things around. But really, other than that, very good numbers there too. Let's check out the O'Reilly part 1 here too. This from Racing Reference, that is. Yeah, no wins in the O'Reilly Series either. Yeah, no wins in 5 starts, but he finished 3rd his last 2 times there and was in the top 10 in 4 of those 5 starts. So there's another one to look at. So, yeah, it's not a bad track for him, but definitely a track he hasn't won on yet. So if he does get the 4th in a row, it would be new territory for him to get a win at the Phoenix track, and I think that'll be something we check out. Definitely let me know in the chat which category is getting the most votes, and we'll do those at the same time. Let me scroll this back up here to Michael Jensen, 1817. Thank you for your super chat for $2. Did not have Snyder in Cup article on my bingo card. Yeah, no, I definitely agree. Yeah, what an interesting moment there for Snyder. I was wondering who they're going to bring in. We were starting to wonder if they're going to get Jeff Gordon his uniform and send him back out there to run some races. I mean, it's a road course in a Hendrick car. That'd be the first thing I'd be thinking of. But I suppose Jeff is off duty for that and maybe doesn't have his helmet with him. I'd love to ask him if he has his with him there. And I guess Jimmy was in St. Petersburg there for the truck race. So was he at Cota? Did we see him at Cota, Jimmy, today? I don't recall seeing him, but maybe I missed that. So we got the email about tech being complete. Okay, we can check that there too. Yep, there it is. Yep, 2 minutes ago from Pockrace's page as well. Here, Cup post-race tech is complete. No issues. Reddick is the winner. So congratulations again to Tyler Reddick. 3 consecutive victories, and that means Chase Briscoe will be the first driver in NASCAR history to fall out because of a transaxle issue, specifically enumerated in the results. So that will be your article there later tonight. The other consequence, I like to usually kind of start writing the articles during the races there, especially if it's settled very early. This one was very different. It wasn't settled till almost 3/4 of the distance through, but Briscoe is going to be your feature for tonight's article, and we'll get into that a little bit later there as well. Which categories you guys want? Let me see which ones we have. That's right. Yeah, thank you, Marcus Hurtado. You're right. Yep, Reddick was the one that was challenging Briscoe when he won his first race in 2022. I forgot about that. Very good catch. First repeat winner at Cota. There's another one to look at. Let's see here. Yeah, bearded gentleman. I hear you about the AI. I'm not crazy about the thumbnails either. I try to look past that in there too. This is definitely not a. I do not support AI on that. Beyond very limited. limited uses. It has its place. I think it'd be equally foolish to push it out completely. I'm going to do I actually have a video. I was working a script on this too, to kind of elaborate on this more. But again, I really like how useful it is in transcribing audio, but I wouldn't go with that transcription right away. I know they have some apps that do that. I would still listen to the audio, make sure that that's correct before using it for anything. That's about the extent that I would use it, that I've been using it, honestly, at my site. So that's where I am on that. Hey there, Alex. Thank you for tuning in there too. Yeah, JD Stacy. There we go. Mentioning the other deals. Nature's Bakery with Danica Patrick. Yep. Yeah, definitely a long history of these sponsors and so forth that haven't worked out here as well. Yeah, glad the Phoenix isn't the season finale. Exactly. Let the race be its own deal there too. Tyler could be the regular season champion, Greg. I mean, he's certainly off to a great start. Even if he stumbles here a bit, he's got a cushion to work with, and with the extra points that you get for winning a race now, that's the biggest difference we have from any format. And we're really going to see, I think it's going to be a great test example of it. We're really going to see how much, consistency still matters with these wins. If Reddick is, I certainly would expect he would be in the top 16. I think even if he had a real difficult rest of the year, he should at least be able to do that. But we'll find out. This is going to be a great test of it there, with, again, the best possible start, getting as many points as he can, and winning some big races there to start the year. We'll find out what the case is. Which category is the one there at the same time? Which category is everybody picking? We'll see. Hendrick could have got Joey Hand if they wanted. I mean, I imagine maybe, but I thought the manufacturer thing. Isn't Joey Hand just a Ford factory driver? Because I know that's been the case in his past Cup starts, and driving with Rick Ware back when they were a Ford team too. There we are. Let's see. There we go. Got some more pictures here from the burnouts there. I'm seeing the pictures of the weird diecast there for the program car. I think it's kind of cool. I mean, I think it reminds me, there was that person that went to Italy, and they had somebody that made some knockoff Denny Hamlin diecast, and they put it on like a Lamborghini body, and they made the sponsor a little different, but it was like definitely Denny's colors and his number. I love stuff like that. I mean, little weird things like that where they're trying to replicate the sport, but not quite. I think that's fascinating, because I'm used to, when I grew up, when Racing Champions cars didn't look like that. And they wouldn't look like the cars on the track. So I don't know. I love details and all that. I mean, I hold it to different standards. I wouldn't hold like apparel to the same standard, because I hold that to a much higher level. I don't want something that's going to fall apart or not look good, or, or just pick it up because it's there. I don't like doing that. So, yeah. Let's see here. Oh, that's interesting. We got a shot here. I'm going to have to retweet this. This is something. Is that real? See, again, another problem with AI in general. We got Bobby Hillis Jr. running his one of his beautiful paint schemes there, the number 27, but it's got a 06 covered up there to have it entered under the Wayne Peterson effort. I'll have to retweet that. That's interesting. It almost looks like AI, but hopefully that's real. Yeah, the AI stuff is just terrible. It's especially bad in historical stuff, because I mean, you get all these history videos and they can't even pronounce like basic words right, and it just takes you out of the experience like the first 30 seconds into the video. Like, nobody proofreads this. No, it's all, AI narrator, AI script, AI thumbnail, AI video, and it's crap, But and this kind of a teaser for the video I'm working on there. It's the other frustrating part of it is it's not going anywhere. Like, I would love it if there was a site called SlopTube, and you could just put all the AI stuff there. But who's going to keep an eye on that? and who's going to put, a warning at the beginning of each video? It's not going to happen. There's always going to be unscrupulous people out there that are going to push it through as if it's real. So the best you could do is compete. You just have to compete. You have to have enough people out there that don't want to use it, that push to have the best content they can out there, and make better stuff. Show a better way. And there's no better reward than success. It'd be great if a ban would be wonderful, but it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. They're plugging AI into everything, even though it's not perfect technology, and that sucks. But yeah, you just do the best you can, really. And I'm glad to see a lot of artists sharing their art and people. And then again, yeah, if you're not able to do it yourself, support people that can. Support artists and videographers and writers. I'm especially offended by it as somebody that has committed so much time to the craft of writing. Like, I think, crafting a well-written sentence or something that is compelling to read is a very hard fought for skill. And with literacy rates and everything being what they are, I don't need to get fully on a soapbox here, but I think that's so important. Yeah, Chat GPT is not going to do it for you. You may not, it may look like it. It's a great simulation of writing, but then you try to read it and it doesn't flow right, or you try to tell it to somebody and they can't follow it. It's like, yeah, no, it's terrible, terrible stuff. Let's see. Do we have, which category? Let's see, wild card for you. What other categories do we have here? Did wild card get the most votes? I'm not sure. Yeah, Comics by Bruno does beautiful art. I very happy to support him on that there with the work he did there on the Rise of the Field Filler sticker. Isn't that wonderful? He did a beautiful job on that. I still have those in the store, by the way. I'm gonna have some more stuff added to the store pretty soon here. So stay tuned for that too. But that would be another one to look at. All right. We'll probably just do wild card. I saw a couple votes for that, so we'll go ahead and jump into that and do that here. Alrighty. Oop, I hear my dog barking downstairs. We'll see if he wanders up here at some point. All right, here we go. First question. What race announcer has worked games for the Detroit Tigers and the St. Louis Blues? So first question here. What race announcer has worked games for the Detroit Tigers and the St. Louis Blues? So there we go. Little Americana here to kick things off. That's very much been the spirit of the week, hasn't it? I regret that I did not watch much of the Olympics this year. I've never been as much of a Winter Olympics guy compared to the Summer Olympics, because I like all those, like the track and field and rowing and fencing and all that stuff. But my goodness, I mean, I missed a hell of a one, because my entire feed this whole week has been like nothing but that hockey team and that ice skater there too, and well deserved. I mean, my goodness. I mean, the State of the Union ended up featuring that in there too. I mean, how wonderful. The Miracle on Ice was a little bit before me. I know that might surprise some of you. That was 2 years before I was born, so I don't have any distinct recollection of that. But what a wonderful moment to have, especially this year with the 250th anniversary of the country, and seeing the logos on the Ram trucks at St. Petersburg, because apparently they're a sponsor partner. I wasn't aware of that. But my goodness, yeah, just wonderful. I much like with the AI thing, I think that's the big takeaway. I love to see, people being, it's time to be awesome. It's time to be great, and you have people out there that are trying to do the best they can with what they can, and hopefully it inspires people elsewhere too, which is great, So I hope that's the direction we're heading. I think that's very laudable, and I love, as for as negative as social media is, and maybe I'm just not seeing the stuff as much, for what social media is. I mean, I've been very pleased with how positive the response was. I mean, I tweeted as much this week. I mean, like, wow. I mean, I'm seeing so much about this. I thought this was the kind of thing that people just kind of poo-poo or whatever over these days. But I'm glad that the level of cynicism is not that high out there. That's so encouraging to me. So I'm sure there's some that would still. I get it, but that's to me that's nice. That's nice. I don't consider, I don't talk a lot about patriotism on this show or anything, and that's not what this is about. But in a sense, it kind of is, because we talk about small teams and these drivers, and they're striving to do the best they can, and sometimes they're going to be on the last car page, but other times we talk about them when they're doing really well, and that underdog spirit is out there, and that's wonderful. That's wonderful. So kudos to our Olympians, and absolutely. For sure. Going back to the question here, what race announcer has worked games, for both the Detroit Tigers and the St. Louis Blues? I think we've had this question before, but I don't remember what the answer is. Alyssa Liu, thank you. Yes. There we go. That's right. My goodness. Just incredible. Just incredible. I'm glad at least we're in the YouTube era, so you can watch the videos now, but all that. But yeah, I will confess I did not get up early to watch the competitions there, but I'm so pleased at the positive response. See, for me, the Winter Olympics, I can't get it separated from 1994, because 94 happened when I was 12 years old, and that's all I remember everybody talking about was Tanya Harding and Nancy Kerrigan and that whole mess that just turned into a soap opera. That's probably affected my viewpoint of the Winter Olympics. I know it's wonderful that you had Jeff Bodine involved in it with the bobsled program, so that's cool. But I like the atmosphere of it, but my goodness, tremendous. And I love that people are getting inspiration from inspirational figures. I mean, that's great, and I don't think that's just limited to here in the U.S. I really do think that, there's people taking that other places. I'm sure if we have Canadian viewers in here, I'm sure you're not happy about the outcome this week, but it's competition, and that's what happens. And I'm sure when you guys win, then it's just as thrilling on your end there too. So, and that'll be the next matchup whenever the next time is. So, there you go. But, it makes me that much more, honestly, for me, it makes me that much more excited about the San Diego race this summer, because, that's going to be wonderfully, I got my American flag shoes all ready for that this June. So that's going to be really interesting. Not on the 250th anniversary itself, but close enough there with the vistas and everything out there. I hope that event goes as well as the St. Petersburg one did this week. If we can at least get that, I think that would be wonderful for the sport for sure. And we'll see what happens. What race announcer has called games, worked games for the Detroit Tigers and the St. Louis Blues? Let's see, Dr. Jerry Punch. I see a couple for those too. Oh yeah, Andrew Bremner. Good question. Thinking of attending the Olympics 2028. I would consider it. Yes. I would love to do the rowing competition. I mean, we'll see how things look there. Things have been kind of crazy down there, but. I used to row in LA. I mean, we one of the races we won was in Bayona Creek, which is, if you ever see the movie Volcano, with Tommy Lee Jones, sounds like it's a complete departure here, but the climactic scene in that movie takes place in like Bayona Creek, which is like right near the harbor there. And that was a rowing, basin. We had a competition against a lightweight crew there, because I was in the junior varsity and we didn't have a boat matched up against us. And we whooped them in that one, and that was wonderful. So I think the rowing competitions for the 2028 Olympics are going to be in Long Beach, and I've competed there too. We had some boats that ran there, and we did ergometer competitions on the shore in the boathouse. So that was a really great experience at the same time. So I'd love to do that. Yeah, I mean, it's a little ways in the future, just a couple of years. Don't have any immediate plans set up, but yeah, I'd love to attend it. I think that'd be a great throwback. To do that. I would love to do the rowing thing. I'd probably bring up my old merch and all that. We'll see where the racing schedule is that year too. If the San Diego thing keeps going and maybe we have something like that week or something, that would be great. I'd love to do both. And we'll cover that. I kind of got that feel. I kind of got that feel when we went to the LA Coliseum for the Clash, and they had the people walking around with the blazers. They had these navy blue blazers, and they had like the Olympic symbol on them when they were security guards and stuff. It's just wonderful. I've never attended the Olympics before. The 84 Olympics, I was 2 years old. So that was a bit ways ago. And I didn't go to Atlanta in 96. I was in middle school at that point, I think. So, yeah. But that would be interesting. You met Tanya Harding, Jimmy? Oh, that's crazy. Wow, what a small world. But, yeah, I wouldn't rule it out. I'd like to do that. Long Beach is cool. Yeah, we did. We love visiting the Queen Mary out there, too. We've been there a few times. Oh, yeah. Yeah, for the ocean liner history, I'm glad they put more money into it. Well, let me get the answer to this question before I stretch it too much further. We also called the Detroit Tigers the St. Louis Blues. You had the other guesses here. Saw a couple for Dr. Jerry Punch. Let's find out. There we go. And the answer is Eli Gold. Eli Gold is the answer there. Somebody that called games for the Detroit Tigers and the St. Louis Blues. I could hear Eli doing it. He's got a great radio voice. Eli Gold is the answer. Anybody guess that? I don't think anybody did. Mike Joy. Nope. Austin P. Foster. You got it. You got it. I see you there. Did anybody else get it? I see Austin did. Dr. Jerry Punch. Missed the bobsled. Is it bobsled or bobsleigh? I heard both in this competition. I don't know if those are different things. It always confuses me when one thing is called two things. That's always been a stumbling block for me. I can't get my head around that. I prefer to just pick one and keep going. There we go. Last car standing, Olympics edition. Yeah, you never know. Wait, we'll track the last place boat or something in the crew competition or something like that. We'll see. It takes a 1 year hiatus to be Olympian. Nah, man, that ain't happening. I get you, Death Killer. No, shoot. Back in college, I wasn't even close to that. I got to be about mid pack in my last year in crew. I was not very good. I was not very. I got down. I got down really slim. I'll show you pictures. I think I've showed them before. That was a whole different time. But yeah, good times though. Great people I met. Great coaches we worked with. We won some races my third year. We won 4 races my third year. It was a great time. And yeah, if we went to Long Beach, yeah, I'll be curious if it looks the same. I haven't been to the Long Beach harbor where the competitions were since like 2005. That's how long it's been. So it probably looks completely different now, I imagine. That's a whole different world of it. But that would be fun. Yeah, there we go. Crew 2.0. There we go. I actually do have a rowing machine. I don't want to give away the store. I do have a rowing machine downstairs, and I have been using it. I can't pull 10,000 meters like I used to back then, at least not yet. So we'll see. But hey, we'll see what that is. Where's that picture? I don't have to tease this too much. Let me pull that up. I'll stroke my ego here a little bit. Where is that? See all photos. Where's my albums? There we go. And these are all public. I think these are all publicly available. Here, check this out. You want to see something that'll throw you off. I sent pictures of my senior photo in the Patreon. That was before I got into crew. That was right before I got into crew. I think those pictures taken like 2000, 2001 for that. Here. Okay, can I get the second screen here? There we go. That's me. Look at me with hair again. That was my picture for the UC Irvine crew page. And that picture was 2002 on that one. So that was a ways ago there. Where is it? Can I get on this? Yeah, there we go. Yeah, here's our group there from my junior year. And right there. There we go. See? Fit in a little better there in that group there. Yeah, that was our coach, Dan Emmerich there, the coach, and the guys there. I roomed with 3 of these guys here my last year, and just a great group. Great times there back then. Let's see. Yeah, the ones there. There we go. Yeah, that's probably early 2004 right then. So yeah, no, it was a good time. That will get you shredded. If you ever want to get shredded, like real quick, like I'll tell you what, like rowing is the way to do it. Water resistance is the great equalizer, and it is very, very hard to work with there for sure. So that's definitely another one. But yeah, I think that's all on my Facebook page there. Yes, we did race against Santa Cruz. I think we raced against them in San Diego. But yeah, I have, well, what was cool too is you would see we're wearing spandex in that picture there, but we had t-shirts, like trading shirts, and if you beat the other crew, you got the shirt of the guy that you beat. And once I found that out my first year, I was like, oh damn, I got to get in one of those boats, get those shirts. And first one we did, we raced in Newport Harbor, and that was our home harbor for that. That's kind of where this picture is. Let me get that to this one. This is Newport Harbor here. And I'm the guy. I always wore like crazy hats and shirts. So that's me here in the flame beanie there. It's not a great picture, but yeah. But we beat UC San Diego. That was the one we beat that year. And I have that shirt somewhere. I don't have it here with me. I'll have to bring that out one day. But yeah. Yeah, it looks like Last Bro. Yeah. No, Last Bro is the skinnier one between us. That's for sure. Yeah, where we go? Let's see. I have some better ones here. Oh, here we go. Here's me and my mom here in this one. There we go. That's my last competition in Sacramento, May of 2005. Jeff Gordon, when he won the Star Wars car at Talladega, that's the same day as this picture here. So yeah. And I had this, you'll notice this hat. I had this pink hat because I wanted to make it so I could stand out. Like, you know, I wasn't always in the boat all the time because I was kind of on the verge there. So whenever I was in the boat, I would wear that because nobody else is going to wear a pink hat. So I brought this out. And yeah, that's how you know I was in the boat there. And that was cool. So that was kind of my thing. But yeah, there we go. Same thing. Good times. And these guys are crazy. We had a great group. Like some of these, I mean, you know, not a reminiscing podcast, I guess, necessarily. But yeah, these guys, they were football players, cross-country runners, triathletes, basketball. We had 2 active members of the Marines. You know, God, these guys were hardcore, man. And I'm in there. I was in the band at the time in high school. I had no athletic experience, but a wonderful group of guys. Like, you know, they really encouraged me back then, and that was cool. So that was fun. Good times. Oh, here we go. I had an interview. We won a qualifying race, and here's me getting interviewed in the middle here. And I'm wearing the hat in that shot. They're asking, why are you wearing this pink hat? It's like, I just said pink is just red going fast. That was my thing. Good times. And this is San Diego, actually. This is a good one. This is relevant for the show. This is the San Diego. This is Mission Bay, which is where the Crew Classic is. San Diego Crew Classic is like the biggest rowing competition, like pretty much in LA. I don't know if it's all in California. There's some very big ones. Berkeley is huge up here. But down there, like San Diego is massive. You win San Diego Crew Classic. This is just a qualifying race. But we won that, and that was really cool. So yeah, we had that, and I didn't make it into their little. They did a video montage thing at the end of it. I didn't make it in there, but they did interview me on that, and that was fun. So that was cool. Good stuff. God, I haven't looked at these pictures in a while. Yeah. Oh, here we go. Here's a better picture of me. Ah, it's still so small. These pictures are so low resolution. But yeah, that's me in the pink hat there. That's Crew Classic 04. You can see from the picture there on that. And that's right before the start. You gotta get all bunched up. You get your hands right forward and you get ready. And then, you know, the gun goes off and you gotta just mash that down. And then you are in the machine. When you are in the machine, you don't stop. That's for sure. Yeah, I need to get some higher resolution ones. I was 2-seat. I was usually in this seat here. So this is a typical 8-man boat here. This is going into Newport Harbor. And yeah, I'm wearing a white shirt here. I'm this guy here. And you want the smaller guys in the front. And unbelievably, I was one of the smaller guys. That's how big our guys were. They were big dudes. So yeah. But no, good stuff. But yeah, that's the group right there. So yeah, so I'd love to watch the Olympics and see the current guys. You know, 2,000 meters, you know, our boats would do that in maybe 6.5 minutes, something like that, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're just doing it, I mean, there's no timeouts, there's no stopping. You just imagine doing like the hardest, you know, physical labor that you can think of and just continually doing it, like picking up a heavy weight and dropping it and picking it up and dropping it or something. You know, it's like that. And but yeah, you will get swole. If you want that, you know, forget all these pills or these diets and stuff. If you go into rowing, it doesn't matter what you eat. Your body will turn into a furnace. It'll burn everything, you know, inside you there. And yeah, I'll tell you what, I had never done anything like that before. I got in the boat that first year. I mean, God, I was a sexy beast. But that will do it too. So if you're ever looking into getting into a sport, I would recommend crew for sure. Yeah, we got a call on inspection. I already got that earlier, so that's another one too. Yeah, no, rowing is great. Yeah, I'll show you. I have an idea for my rowing machine. I actually have an idea for it for one of the videos I'm working on. So you'll see that. I do. We have a nice bit of equipment. It's not here in this room. It's in the room downstairs, but I will show that at some point. So maybe I might do more. I might do something even on the rowing thing at some point. It's quite the story too. It's too long of a story for this stream here, but we'll maybe jump into that more at some point there too. All right. Let's see. Oh, here we go. I'm sorry. We're still in the wild card category. We'll do a couple more questions here. What did Alan Kowicki name his yellow and black Quincy's Steakhouse T-Bird? What did Alan Kowicki name his yellow and black Quincy's Steakhouse T-Bird? So like a nickname for his car. That's the question. Call it Rozempic. I like that. That's pretty accurate. Good times. Yeah, the flame beanie. I got some crazy hats and stuff like that too. I'll show you. I got some. I have a. I got pictures. I got my my unisuit in a frame somewhere too. I had that. Actually, you might have seen this if you're a longtime watcher of this show. Back when I did the disqualification show, like 2019 or even earlier, like 2018, when I had the white wall behind me, the blue stripe. That room had the display from the stuff for my rowing stuff, and we still have it. It's just not in here. It's in storage. But yeah, that was really cool. That was cool. I did all 4 years. I got a little trophy at the end of it there. Got to do a speech. That was fun. That's again, long story, but good story though. What did Alan Kowicki name his yellow and black Quincy's Steakhouse T-Bird? The Professor, the Bumblebee, Turpentine, Gerald, Banana Boat. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. 2 kilometers in 6 minutes is 37 miles. Yeah, those boats go fast. You see how skinny they are, and like, the row, then you don't, you try to get those in there. It's a lot of fun there with that. And yeah, the Olympians, they go even faster. They're doing it like 5 minutes or maybe 4.5. Like they are hauling the mail. Like, and again, it's if you ever seen there's some great movies that actually show a bit of what rowing looks like. If even the Social Network, like the Winklevoss characters, like they're rowing, that's pretty accurate in that too. Even How High, you ever seen that with Method Man and Red Man? They have a great scene in that where they're on the rowing team there, and actually it's pretty accurate. It just see like what it's like to learn that. And then of course The Boys in the Boat, which came out recently. I wasn't as crazy about the book, but the movie's pretty good. Talk about the Olympics, about competing against that. We weren't really in the Olympic pipeline. That's more like University of the Pacific, Berkeley, Stanford, those. The LA teams weren't as much. Although Brad Allen Lewis, who went to the same school I did, but not obviously years before, in the 80s, he rowed in the 84 Olympics and won the gold in the pair. I believe it was the pair. It was a two-man boat. And they have the gold in that. And he was a UC Irvine alumni. So that's a big thing with that. And my coach knew him, which was cool. So I got to meet him at San Diego. I have a copy of his book that he signed. It's very good. It's called Assault on Lake Casitas. And it's the story of that. So if you're ever curious on that, it's really cool. He talks about going to the 84 Olympics, and Snickers was one of the presenting sponsors. They kept trying to give him free candy, and he couldn't do it because he was training and stuff. And it was really cool. Didn't count on this turning into a rowing show, but I don't know. That's kind of where that comes in. Oh, I didn't see the Very Brady sequel. Okay, I wasn't aware of that. That's another one. Let's see. Oh, I already read the super chat on that. Oh, I didn't get yours, Paulie Mazda. Thank you. Thank you for the heads up. I'll get yours. I read Michael Jensen's, but I did not read yours. Thank you very much for the super chat. For $4.99, I'll read it right now. Reddick winning 3 in a row after 23-11, won the lawsuit. Let the conspiracy theories fly. I definitely think something is up. Well, I'll tell you what, the speed that they had in this race, after seeing the 2 super speedways where it can be a toss-up, And even Reddick had fender damage in Atlanta and still won. This one here, where he was pulling Van Gisbergen on the straightaways, I was most nervous about him passing tech inspection. We now know that he did. The results already came in on that. We had that call, I think, about 20 minutes ago. But yeah, I was a little concerned about that because he was very fast, and you don't get that fast over Van Gisbergen. But he did a great job. He did a phenomenal job. So yeah, no worries, no worries. I appreciate the super chat. I don't want to miss not reading it there, but yeah, I usually do it around this segment anyway with the trivia portion. Excuse me. Alrighty. Let's see here. So back to the question here. What did Alan Kowicki name his yellow and black Quincy's Steakhouse T-Bird? And the answer is sirloin. Quincy's Steakhouse is the sponsor. He called the car Sirloin. Yeah, Sears Point this week would be pretty crazy. Yeah, Jimmy, you got the answer there on that one. I see. Need last car sponsorship. Yeah, that'd be crazy. Gerald, Banana Boat. I don't think so. T-Bone, you're very close, Rudy Mac. But sirloin is the correct answer. Bots are back on this one. Yeah, whatever you guys are able to do there, that's fine. Yeah, no worries. I appreciate you guys staying on top of the bots there, but we won't do the show too much longer. I'm not going to worry about that too much. But if you guys are, I don't want you guys getting too exhausted there either. So we'll just do a couple more questions and we'll wrap up. But thank you guys for staying tuned here. Yeah, I'm trying to remember. Did we win a medal in those races? I don't think we did. We weren't in a medal round. We did qualifying heats, and we won. Yeah, we won. Yeah, we won Newport against San Diego, UC San Diego. We won in Ballona Creek against SDSU. So I had that shirt. Those are the ones I won jerseys won. We won a qualifying heat. It was a petite final in San Diego. That's what that weather picture, the black and white one, was from. And then we won a qualifying heat at WERA, which is the championship round, which is in Sacramento, or Folsom specifically. Not too far from here, actually, right here in LASCAR headquarters. That's in Lake Natoma, which is it's like halfway between Sacramento and Placerville. You're like out there. It's like that there. Beautiful area. Only time we rode in freshwater. We rode in saltwater most of the time, which also does matter, but it's also, yeah, another part of it. I still have shirts from back then that even 25 years, 20 plus years later still smell like the salt. So that's part of it. We'll do, again, one or two more questions here. What did Smokey drive his race car home without when axed at Daytona in 1968? Let me read that question again. Again, the wild card category. What did Smokey drive his race car home without when axed at Daytona in 1968? So when axed or cut at Daytona in 1968. I have been north of Sacramento. Not as often. It's beautiful up there. Mendocino is gorgeous. I've also been south. Cambria is very nice. A lot of that. Yeah, I think saltwater is less. It is a little easier. I think the boat sits higher in the water. I think that was always a challenge when we rode in Sacramento, as the boat sat lower, so you have more resistance and you have to kind of really get it going. And when you do a race, you have to the whole slide is your whole body. You're on a sliding seat. You got to compress your body like a spring and then pull it back and then finish it against your body, and your back opens up and you do that, and then you start the cycle over again. When you do a race, you got to start like half slide to kind of get it going. You got to get over that inertia and get it lifted out of the water. When we won San Diego, we were neck and neck with this one boat, and then they had what it's called a crab, because you notice those oars in those pictures, they got to be perpendicular with water when they go in. If they're not at that angle and you go in like this, my hand's in the middle of the shot. If you go into a sideways angle like this, it's just going to keep going down. And when it keeps going down, it becomes a lever. And the oar that's in your hand is going to go up here. And if it goes up there at enough of a speed while everybody else is down here, it's just it will rip you out of the boat. And I will tell you this, it was a crazy, crazy deal, because if you're still holding on to the oar, it'll either thwack the oar out of your hand, which is called a crab, because it means the oar is pulled alongside the boat. And of course, it screws up the balance, it screws up the speed, and it's dragging that behind. But if you're holding it at the time, your feet are in Velcro strapped shoes, which are bolted to the bottom of the boat. And if enough force is acting on the oar quick enough, it will pull you out of the shoes and out of the boat. And my coach always told us, follow the bubbles. You got to just make yourself a ball and don't get hit by the oars as it's going by. And then if you don't know where you are, just follow the bubbles. The bubbles always go up. So you just follow that. It never happened to me. I did break an oar. There's an oar lock that the oars got to go through. I broke one of those because it was corroded by salt and stuff. But I never had a crab that pulled me out of the boat. But there are people that have had that happen. They absolutely have. I'm sure YouTube will probably have a better explanation of it, but that was a big thing. There you go. Yeah. Let's see. Alrighty. Anyway, let's see. What did Smokey drive his race car home without when axed at Daytona in 1968? We got guesses for fuel cell, muffler, transmission, air conditioning. Good guesses. Gas tank. He had a 50-foot fuel line hidden under the seat with extra fuel. Smokey would say cheeky SOB. Absolutely agree. Absolutely. You might be the one here. Let's see. Here it is. A gas tank. You got it. Charles Peterson got it. Bonus points for the extra details. Fantastic. Yes, yes. Rockbeard referencing How High was not on my bingo card. It's a good movie. It's a cute movie. Look, I'm not into that stoner stuff too much, but I mean, that one's got a good heart, and it's actually funny. Like the scene when they run over the guy's bicycle and the guy's freaking out, like that's hysterical. Man, no. Again, you see, we don't have the movies behind me in this shot, but yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff there on that shelf, and a lot of different stuff there too. So that'll be another one. All right, we'll do one more question, then we'll wrap up. It's been a plenty long enough show. I hope you guys enjoyed. I know it's kind of gone different directions here along the way, but there you go. Let's see. That was a little too easy. No, not that one. No. No, we did that one. I remember doing that one. Wild card we've done a few times here. That's kind of the tricky part. Let's see. No. No. Come on. Oh, okay. We might have had this one, but I'll go ahead and do it. This is a pretty good one here. Who was, get your hands on the buzzers here, who was the first NASCAR Winston Cup driver to fly in an F-16 fighter plane? There we go. There's a good one. Who was the first NASCAR Winston Cup driver to fly in an F-16 fighter plane? That is the question. Yeah. I mean, our rowing competitions, again, we didn't do Olympic qualifiers or anything like that, but I mean, that's the fun part of watching the Olympics is when you get the people that, they get to carry the flag behind them and they're wearing the gear and they're playing the music for you. Like, oh man, can't imagine. I mean, again, the Brad Allen Lewis book I recommend because he described it quite well. But yeah, lots of fun. Yeah. Thank you, Charlie. Happy Sunday to you as well. Who was the first NASCAR Winston Cup driver to fly in an F-16 fighter plane? Guesses for see, good distribution of guesses. Bill Elliott, Cole Trickle. I like Beast of Metal's answer. I like that answer. Bill Elliott, Rusty Wallace, Bill Elliott, Richard Petty. Good guesses here. Did I bury the lead there about the Ryan Sieg video. I think I already mentioned it enough, but yeah, I've been meaning to do that one in a while. I've really enjoyed following his career in the O'Reilly series. I was going to do it over the off season. When Creed won, I felt like it was a perfect opening to say, hey, don't forget there's other great stories in the field. This is one to do. And yeah, I wanted to put that out there. And, you know, Ellie Productions did his Creed video, and then he won. So maybe this will help Sieg in that sense. I don't know. But literally, me, you know, Last Bro and myself, we always both enjoy rooting for him. And I think the other driver to watch is Brendan Poole. In that 10th place finish this week, he's the other guy that, you know, I think everybody's waiting to see, you know, win his first race. Was right up there at Daytona, as was Sieg. And that's great to see. So that'll be another one there too. I think I didn't finish my thought on that, but that was kind of what more I wanted to say. But again, thank you guys for checking it out, and I appreciate you watching it there too. More videos of the works. Who was the first NASCAR Winston Cup driver to fly in an F-16 fighter plane? The answer is Rusty Wallace. I thought you guys said Bill Elliott. I thought you guys were right on that. It says Rusty Wallace. Look at that. I think that was from that starting grid video. Whoop, I think it's already out of focus. There we go. There we are. I think it was that starting grid video, 92, 93, that showed that. So that was pretty cool. And yes, Brendan Poole should have had that Talladega win. And that was a great call that Adam Alexander did for that finish. Best one he did until Creed's. So, yeah. Yeah, Rusty Wallace. How about that? Yeah. Those of you guys guessed Bill Elliott. I was going with you guys. That sounded like something he would do. Because there was that story about the plane he was in that he had to bail out of or whatever, or that had an engine failure or something. Yeah. There you go. Well, how about that? So yeah, Rusty Wallace, the correct answer on that. Well, tell you what, folks, well, that will do on the show here. I know it's been a little bit of everything, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. I enjoy doing these shows here as well. In the meantime, my Twitter feed is @LastCarOnBrock. My Patreon is patreon.com/LastCarOnBrock if you're interested in some bonus content or advance access to the videos, or just want to get some stickers there for your collection. I have those as well. In the meantime, our next show is going to be next Sunday after the Cup Series race at Phoenix. We will be talking about the O'Reilly Series and the Cup Series action that weekend. I'll try to watch the IndyCar race. I don't usually follow it as closely, but maybe we'll include that there as well. And that's not the Oscars show. The Oscars are the next week. That's my favorite hate watch of the year, and it's the best comedy Hollywood puts forward is how awkward that ceremony is. So we'll have that coming up later. But in the meantime, we'll go ahead and do the Phoenix one there as well. So thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. I think I got everybody's super chats. Okay, good. I think we got everybody caught up on that. Good. Alrighty. Well, I will see you all next week. In the meantime, have a great week, everyone. Yeah. Have a great week, and I'll see you all next time. Take care, folks.